Right, for this tutorial what I want to do is show you how to create a zooming effect of one of the images and to produce a scrolling title. So I'm going to do this to the first image of the boat, the Dale Princess. To start we'll go to Objects and Animations tab there, and this is the window that the Objects and Animations window. The first thing I want to do is, you see the grey area around here, this is like a paste board. The black area is the extent of the actual slide, and where we can see this sort of green line, that is the extent of the photograph. And you can see that they don't tie up. The photograph is a different shape to the actual slide, and we've got black bands down each side, which would show in the when it's actually the pictures to actually show is produced. So I want the image to cover up all the slide area. Now to do that, I'm going to demagnify the image in the screen there to 25%. So I've got a larger area I can move things around in. Right, before I start, because this is a title slide, you can see down here we've got a full duration of 7 seconds. That means that this picture will be, when it's automatically advanced, will be on the screen for 5 seconds to there, plus a 2-second transition into the next slide, giving a total of 7 seconds. That isn't really long enough if we have a scrolling title. So I'm going to go to Customize Slide and change the slide duration to 10 seconds, and you can see that the duration has changed there, and we've got a file duration of 12 seconds including a 2-second transition. Right, now at the bottom we have what's called the timeline, this thing here, and this little thing here, the little red dot, is what's called a keyframe. Now when I move along the timeline, left clicking, you can see the little blue triangle moves with me. So wherever this blue triangle is occurring, this is indicating the position on the timeline that you're viewing on the screen. I can apply another keyframe by right clicking and add keyframe here, and then we can change something in the viewing area here, and that would be applied at that particular keyframe. So if we had a zoom effect, there would be a change between the first keyframe and this keyframe here. I'm going to show you how to do that. So I'll just delete that and we'll start scratch. Right, so first of all I want to make sure that this image fills the whole of the slide. So I can just drag, you don't have to press any buttons or anything, just drag with the left hand mouse button until it fills the slide area. And of course all the area that you see transparent will not be visible in the Pictures to Exe show. Now that's happening at the very beginning of the slide. So what I'd like to do is zoom into an area here by the time the slide on the screen finishes. So I'm going to click here, right click here, and add a keyframe, insert. Okay. So whatever I'm going to do to this image now will be applied at this keyframe here. We can drag the keyframe just by clicking and dragging it along. So we can apply multiple keyframes and we can move them wherever we want. We could put that right at the very end if we wish. I'm now going to drag the handle. You don't have to press any buttons or anything. You just drag it using the left hand button and we can move it around wherever we wish the final zoom pan, and if you go to the corners you can actually rotate it as well. Okay. So I'm going to put that there. To see the effect that we've got, all we've got to do is press play, and we can see as this timeline moves along the bottom, the zoom effect that we've applied. And of course, by the time it gets to here, it will start to there'll be a transition into the next slide. If you want the zoom effect to finish before then, you can of course move it to there before it but I'm going to leave it position. And of course, if you go too far, it's outside the actual slide duration, so we need to put it to about there. Okay. Now then, what I'd like to do is add a title. So up here we've got what's called a text. Now there's an important thing you really need to understand, and that is this in the objects list here we have a thing called parent and child relationships. So at the moment the image is selected. You can see it's sort of highlighted. If I just click away, it's not highlighted. If I click on the image, it's highlighted. Okay. So if I add a T for text, you can see that in the objects list, it has become what's called a child of the photograph. And if I was to press play, you can see that the text is actually zooming at the same rate as the photograph. Now that isn't and it's actually moving across the screen. That isn't the effect I want. So I'm going to press on the click on the text there and delete and get rid of it. So what I need to do is make sure that if I just click in the area outside the image, that is no longer selected. Now if I press the T button, you can see it's appeared as a separate object in the objects list. So this will be able to, I'll be able to move this independently of the photograph. Now in here, this is the text input box. So I'm going to call that Skomer Island. Okay, and we can change boldness, italics. Can change the color. So say we wanted a red or maybe a nice blue, deep blue. Make sure you click in there. Okay, so we've got blue. That didn't look very good. Maybe go for yellow. Okay, just make sure you've got yellow. Okay. And of course you've got all the different fonts on the computer. I'm going to stick with Arial. Now then, what I'd like to do is move this Skomer Island to the bottom of the image off screen. Can't do it. Now the reason is I haven't got the keyframe, the applicable keyframe selected. So if I click on that, that's the very beginning when the slide shows, appears. I can now move the text. Okay. I can scale the text by just dragging the handles. Now what we could do is maybe zoom the text. You can maybe do it from one corner, move it up to their larger text. Now that's all happening at the 00 at the beginning of the image, as the image will appear. And of course you won't see the text because it's off, it's outside the window. So if I wanted the Skomer Island text to finish off up here, maybe at a larger size, and before the next transition into the next slide, I could right click on the timeline, add a keyframe. So it's going to happen there. Move the text, maybe make it bigger. Now maybe this isn't what you want, I'm just trying to show you what you can do. So now if I play that, you can see that the image is zooming, you can see that the text is panning across and getting larger at the same time. By the time it gets to there, it's off screen. And now we're into the transition into the next slide. So that is how you can produce panning, rotating, any sort of animation or shots effects in Pictures 2xe.